The main character finds it strange that some people never experience reincarnation while she has gone through it 3 times already. Each of her lives has been filled with difficulties. This time, she hoped that all her suffering was finally over, but she was reborn once again. She doesn't understand why this is happening to her. Has she become the villainous Serena again? In her first life, she was an assistant to a teacher and worked extremely hard for a meager salary of 400,000 won. To her, it felt like slavery. One evening, while she was working late, she suddenly felt unwell. Her head spun, and she collapsed on the floor. She died from exhaustion but hoped that in her next life, she would be born into a wealthy family where she wouldn't have to work. Her prayer was answered, and she became the noblewoman Serena Lavernia, the eldest daughter of a prestigious noble family. She was happy and lived her life well until she heard the name of her fiancé, Magnus von Kalaheinem, the young duke. At that moment, she realized that she had ended up in 10 Ways for the Lucky Saintess to Find Happiness, a novel she had read in her previous life and had been literally obsessed with. It is a well-known book in the romantic fantasy genre where Serena Lavernia is the villainess. This is the character into whom she had been reincarnated. She plotted schemes and tried to poison the Saintess, the main heroine of the novel. There were 4 stories connected to her, each ending in tragedy, imprisonment, separation from a child, loss of sanity, or execution by quartering. Moreover, the main hero Magnus hated Serena so much for all her schemes against the main heroine that he annulled their engagement and divorced her. He was willing to do anything to bring her down to the lowest point. At the moment when she saw her future husband, it felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. Was she destined for the same fate? She didn't want to lose the peace and happiness she had come to cherish. The girl began to ponder at what point her character had become a villainess because she hadn't always been like that. Serena met the Saintess when she first came out into society at the age of 16. If that was indeed when she became a villainess, then she had every chance to change things since she was only 8 years old now. She was sure she could manage it, all she needed to do was avoid encountering the Saintess to escape her tragic fate. She tried to behave well and attract as little attention as possible. She decided to stay close to Magnus and then go to a monastery. And so, when she turned 15, she convinced her parents to let her go to the monastery. On the way there, however, the carriage she was in fell off a cliff. After that, the girl wakes up in an unfamiliar place. A man calls her Keel. She doesn't understand where she is and where her maid has gone. The man just laughs at her for thinking of herself as an aristocrat. He asks her for the documents she promised to prepare. The girl realizes that she has been reincarnated again and has become an assistant. She was already tired of being an assistant in her first life, and now she is one again, this time to a scientist who is obsessed with experiments. Thus began her third life. However, it soon came to an end after a sudden war broke out. In the midst of the fighting, the scientist asks Keel to fulfill his last wish, as he understands that they will die anyway. He persuades her to go with him, and she agrees because if Keel stays there, she will either be captured or killed. Lemelin locks the girl in a teleportation device he invented. He tells her that she has the honor of being the first to try it out. The mad scientist is afraid to experiment on himself but hopes everything will go well. The girl screams at him but becomes his test subject nonetheless. She no longer wants any happy life, she just wants these reincarnations to stop. She hopes that this will be the end, but she finds herself in a new body once again. The girl looks at herself in the mirror and realizes that she is once again in the body of the villainous Serena Lavernia. However, she is no longer the little girl she used to be, she has become an adult woman. She understands what this means, Serena survived the fall. She wonders how old she is now, whether she tormented the Saintess all these years, and whether this means she cannot escape her fate as a villainess. Meanwhile, Serena's husband orders someone to watch over his wife to ensure she doesn't do anything bad, as she is supposed to sign a divorce agreement. The girl looks around. She has seen this place before in her childhood. This is Duke Kalaheinen's estate, the place where she first had a family and friends. However, now she is locked in a wing with no one around. According to the novel, Serena was supposed to marry Magnus and become a duchess, but since she is locked up here, it becomes clear that their marriage is indeed heading toward divorce. Serena refused to divorce, and she was exiled here. The girl realizes that at least 10 years have passed since the fall, which means she has already become a villainess. All 3 of her past lives ended tragically, and here she is again in this body. Was this life doomed from the start, destined for her to perish as the villainess from the book? She fears that she won't be able to avoid this fate. The girl doesn't want to lose her last hope. She is confident that she can change everything because Serena's life truly went off course when Magnus, unable to tolerate her villainies any longer, decided to divorce her. After that, all of the girl's sins became known to her family, and they abandoned her. Serena was left without a title or money. The girl understands that last time she couldn't change her fate, but this time she believes she can succeed. She knocks on the door and tries to call for someone. The servants are frightened but still enter her room to ask what she needs. The girl informs them that she wants to go to the main mansion and speak with her husband. Lottie, the butler of the Kalahinam mansion, notices that it is particularly noisy today. Suddenly, he spots Serena along with some maids. Another servant approaches them to find out the reason for their visit. The girl tells him that she wants to see her husband. However, the young man replies that the Duke has forbidden her from entering the mansion. Butler Lottie doesn't understand why she is here. To him, Serena is a wicked and cruel person, as the number of servants she has fired is in the dozens, and the instances of public humiliation inflicted on those she dislikes are countless. Furthermore, for the terrible crime committed against the Saintess, she deserves the death penalty, but the Crown Prince showed mercy on her. Lottie considers Serena a disgrace to the Kalahinam family. Nevertheless, she remains his mistress, so he approaches her to greet her. He bows and introduces himself. Serena asks where Butler Pamel is, to which Lottie informs her that he is his successor. In the girl's childhood, Pamel was already old, so he decided to raise a successor for himself. Serena tells Lottie that she came to meet her husband. She asks him to convey to Magnus that she will fulfill his recent request if he agrees to meet with her. The girl confidently states that she wants to finish this as soon as possible. However, she realizes that she is hated more than she thought. Lottie tells her that he first needs to discuss this with Pamel and leaves her alone. Serena thinks about what she will do after the divorce. She needs to come up with a plan. The girl wants to return to the Lavernia mansion and take her accumulated savings, after which she will leave the family because a villainess like her would only be a hindrance. Then she plans to open a small business using her knowledge of medicinal herbs gained in her past life and live peacefully on her own. However, she fears retribution for the misdeeds committed by Serena. She does not want to die and be reincarnated again. Her thoughts are interrupted by Pamel. The girl is very happy to see him again, although she thought she had exhausted all her emotions after working hard as an assistant. She notices that the butler has aged significantly during this time. The last time she saw him was 10 years ago. She understands that Pamel is planning to retire since he has found himself a successor. The girl tries to express to him that she is glad to see him, striving to be polite and friendly. However, to others, her words sound wicked and cruel, as everyone knows Serena's true nature. Meanwhile, Magnus wonders why his wife agreed to the divorce. He fears that she has come up with something bad again. Serena Lavernia used to be a worthy lady. She had a good friendship with Magnus, they enjoyed each other's company and had fun together. She considered him very smart, as he always told her fascinating things. It was no surprise to her that many wanted to send him to the royal palace. Although it was a marriage of convenience, Serena genuinely appealed to Magnus due to her kindness and sincerity. However, 2 years later, Serena suddenly decided to go to a convent, and on the way there, the unfortunate accident happened. Everyone thought the girl would die, but miraculously, she woke up. At the same time, Serena changed so much that everyone felt she had become a different person. She stopped paying attention to her fiancé and began piloting against the Saintess. After becoming a duchess, she went so far as to attempt to poison her. Magnus fears that this time Serena has something sinister in mind. Today, the mansion is unusually quiet. No one is yelling at the servants, and not a single vase has been thrown against the wall. He doesn't believe that Serena can behave quietly, so he is sure she is up to something. Magnus approaches his wife and is very surprised to see her calmly reading a book and eating cookies. The girl asks the butler to wrap some for her to take along. Serena is very polite and sweet to everyone. Magnus finds such behavior strange. He sits down next to his wife in confusion and tries to quickly sign all the necessary papers for the divorce. Serena remembers that as a child, she found him charming, but now he has become quite handsome. She is sure he has broken many girls' hearts. Serena cheerfully asks him how he is doing, to which Magnus responds rudely and distances himself from her. The girl understands that given all the villainy she has committed, it's no surprise he is not happy to see her. However, she finds this unfair, as throughout all her lives she has worked hard, suffered, and never received enough love. Magnus interrupts her thoughts and hands her the divorce papers. Serena agrees to do it but first asks her husband if she can stay in the mansion until the divorce process is over, as she currently doesn't have enough money to buy a house. Magnus replies that she can continue living in the annex and adds that she doesn't need to worry about money because he will help her with that. Serena is very happy and sincerely thanks her husband for his assistance. However, he perceives only malice and cunning in her words. He does not believe in the girl's sincerity. As she leaves, Serena says that Magnus is free to meet anyone he wants. This won't hurt her. The young man remains in a state of confusion. In the academy, Serena kept her eyes on Magnus. She wouldn't allow other girls to even look at her fiancé. The guy believed that his fiancé was wrong and asked her to stop. However, Serena continued to be jealous and taunt the other girls. After that, everyone began to avoid Magnus, as no one wanted to become a target for Serena. But as soon as everyone stopped approaching her fiancé, the girl started showing interest in the prince, which baffled many. Serena sits in her room. She is glad that she no longer has to worry about housing, as Magnus has allowed her to live in the annex. All she needs to do now is leave the Lavernia family to get closer to her goal. She thinks about how to earn money to open her own herb shop. Suddenly, a brilliant idea comes to her mind. She could create a hair loss remedy since there isn't one in this world. Then she could help many people and also make some money. But suddenly she sees a toy rabbit at the opposite end of her room, interrupting all her thoughts about the future.